FPV to me is basically a release. It's a great way for me personally to feel like I can escape reality in a sense. You know, we all have our work that we have to do to be able to afford and supply for our hobby, and whether you love work or not, FPV is a great way to just kind of set that aside and just put your mind somewhere else and enjoy the moment that you're having. FPV is a lot of fun, really really fun. So it's a great way for me to just release and just kind of get into my zen, if you will, or get into my happy place. So what got me hooked into FPV though is a buddy of mine. Funny story, I got just like a toy drone off Amazon that my wife bought for me. I always wanted a drone back in like 2013, 2014, but I never spent the money on getting one for myself. So my wife bought me one for Christmas, and I lost it in like a couple days. It happened very quickly. And then, I ended up getting another one, and a buddy of mine had been flying FPV and building his own drones, and he was like, yeah, it's cool you get a drone, but you should try this. You should try out FPV. And, I eventually gave in and met up with him and tried to fly his drone for the first time. And right then I was like, whoa, this is actually really awesome. Like, you get that whole different perspective, that bird's eye view at things that you see every single day in and out, potentially if you're flying at like a local park or something. So he got me hooked, and then since then couldn't stop moving forward with it. So most memorable moment in FPV though, this one is gonna have to shout out to the Whoop community in general, just because out here in the States, when there's a big whoop race, which there are quite a few throughout the year now, you have the event we host, Whooptopia, is the largest, and then you have, Denver, Colorado hosts a race that they used to call Whoop Wars Battlegrounds. They changed things up a little bit with that Jesse Perkins is taking care of and handling with help from other guys out there in Colorado. And then you have your museum race in Ohio. You have the Northeast Whoop Championship, the We Bleed Northeast Whoop Championship. So we have a lot of big races. So what I'm getting at though is when we go to these big whoop races, we always do a thing called a whoop house, which basically is 20 to 30 pilots all pitching in to get a very big house. And that's one thing that is really memorable to me in FPV in general, is the fact that we all come together and we all unite. And not only do we just see each other at the race, but we're actually living with each other, for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in a row, which is just really cool. In my opinion, it's a really great way to really build relationships with the different pilots out there instead of your quick small talk here and there. You really get to know each other, and it creates a really strong bond. So the Whoop community, in my opinion, is really great at creating memorable moments with just creating new friendships and bonding with those of the pilots that you race with online or follow or talk to. So what did I find challenging in FPV? This is could just be a short, quick, sweet one. Flying acro. I've never flown anything. I don't come from any remote control anything. I played a lot of video games. That's really where I came from. And, getting into drones, that was the first time I've ever really gotten into anything that utilizes a remote controller. So acro was was challenging. I will say another thing, just to add to that, soldering. Soldering was not something I knew, so learning how to do that at first was a struggle. I killed a lot of electronics, but that's just how it goes sometimes. But yeah, definitely that'd be the most challenging. So another question is, how long did it take for you to really fly an FPV drone? When I got into it, I pushed for it like anything I've ever done in the past. If I really am into it, I'm going to push myself to be the best version of myself in that specific hobby. So I'd say, I got pretty solid at flying a drone within a year, but nowhere near, the top of what you could be. But that's meaning like I had full control. for the most part. Sure, there were certain things that I couldn't do, but, just flying around, split-essing trees, weaving through trees, whatever, I felt comfortable doing that. Definitely within the first year at least, or at most, I would say. So also, there's a question in here about what I think of, the beginner kits that Beta FPV offers. And the Cetus Pro is probably the coolest, one of the coolest ready-to-fly kits I've ever seen before. So 10 out of 10, yes, I would definitely recommend these to beginners. 100%. They're great kits. You can't go wrong. I mean, you're flying a Whoop, a setup that you could come to a race with right out the box. You absolutely could. Takes a little bit to learn though, and that's the fun of it. So, but it's a great kit to start with. Any tips for FPV beginners? Don't hesitate to ask questions. As simple as that. Most, literally 99.9% of people in the community are willing to help, are nice, are very, happy to assist you. But with that too, I'd also make sure you're always as most descriptive as you can be when you're reaching out for assistance, because over text can be a little difficult to really help troubleshoot problems that people will have. So, plus there's also a ton of groups out there you're welcome to join. All over, tons of FPV community groups, and same with that. I mean, even if you don't know the pilot, you can post in there, reach out. Beta FPV is a great group as well. I see a lot of good activity in there. So join that group. If you have a question, you need to learn something, you can't find it on the online, which sometimes is tough to do. It might be deep in a video or a Bardwell video or something, but yeah, nonetheless, biggest tip, don't hesitate to ask questions. Happy to help. We all have started at the same position that you're at right now. So, so what do you see yourself as in the FPV community? So I came from working in event organizations. I've been hosting very, very large scale events of different avenues, and not just an FPV, prior to becoming an FPV pilot. So when I got into FPV, I really wanted to help ramp up the racing community. And so what I see myself as in the community is kind of like a race director, if you will. That's kind of what I enjoy doing. I like the planning, creating. I love track building. If you don't know, I've won the multi-GP global qualifier track design contest the last 3 years in a row. I'm really big on track designs. I love doing it. I love a track that flows properly, and it makes for great racing. So, but yeah, I see myself as essentially like a race director. For the most part, that's pretty much my bread and butter within the FPV community. I like giving the pilots a place to come compete and really enjoy themselves, and again, build relationships with those other pilots that they may have never met before. First time meeting them in real life is always exciting. What vision do you have for FPV in the future? That can go pretty deep. I think it's just going to continue to do what it's doing. It's going to continue to advance with all the companies out there that are innovating and continuously staying ahead of the curve. That's really huge. From what our drones were 5 years ago to what they are today is night and day difference. Absolutely wild. And it's just, as long as I just see the future of FPV continuing to repeat itself and continue to do that over and over and over and over again. And it's just going to make it more enjoyable and more fun for everybody as we continue on. Obviously, we may have a little bit of challenges to jump through, but nonetheless, as long as we do the right thing, everything should be good. And then, what would life be for you without FPV? I'll be straightforward. I always have a lot of hobbies. Cars. I'm big into cars, so I would just probably be more involved with my vehicle is really it. If I didn't have FPV, I'm sure I'd have some other type of hobby as well in the meantime. Might still be playing video games. I don't know, but nonetheless, FPV is definitely is a big part of my life right now. So, but yeah, that's it. Again, I'm AKA FPV Anthony Knight. Thank you guys for listening in, and don't forget to always head on over to Beta FPV when you need some fresh gear. Great products. Thank you guys. Take care.